Of the origin of the Hound of the Baskervilles there have been many statements. Yet as I come in a direct line from Hugo Baskerville, and as I had the story from my father, who also had it from his, I have set it down with all belief that it occurred even as it is here set forth. It chanced that this Hugo came to love, if indeed so dark a passion may be known under so bright a name, the daughter of a yeoman, but the young maiden would ever avoid him, for she feared his evil name. So it came to pass that one night this Hugo, with 5 or 6 of his idle and wicked companions, stole down upon the farm and carried off the maiden. When they had brought her to the hall, the maiden was placed in an upper chamber, while Hugo and his friends sat down to a long carouse, as was their nightly custom. At last, in the stress of her fear, she did that which might have daunted the bravest or most active men, for by the aid of the growth of ivy which covered the south wall, she came down from under the eaves, and so homeward across the moor. It chanced that some little time later Hugo left his guests to carry food and drink to his captive, and so found the cage empty and the bird escaped. Then, as it would seem, he became as one that hath a devil, for rushing down the stairs into the dining hall he sprang upon his great table, flagons and trenchers flying before him, and he cried aloud before all the company that he would that very night render his body and soul to the powers of evil, if he might but overtake the wench. And while the revellers stood aghast at the fury of the man, one more wicked, or it may be more drunken than the rest, cried out that they should put the hounds upon her. Whereat Hugo ran from the house, crying to his grooms that they should saddle his mare and unkennel the pack, and giving the hounds a kerchief of the maids, he swung them to the line, and so off full cry into the moonlight over the moor. Now for some space the revellers stood agape, but at length some sense came back to their crazed minds, and the whole of them, 13 in number, took horse and started in pursuit. The moon shone clear above them, and they rode swiftly abreast, taking the course which the maid must have needed to take if she were to reach her own home. But soon their skins turned cold, for there came a sound of galloping across the moor, and the black mare, dappled with white froth, went past with trailing bridle and empty saddle. But 3 of them, the boldest, or it may be the most drunken, rode on. The moon was shining bright upon the clearing, and there, in the centre, lay the unhappy maid where she had fallen, dead of fear and of fatigue. But it was not the sight of her body, nor yet was it that of the body of Hugo Baskerville lying near her, which raised the hair upon the heads of these 3 daredevil roysters. But it was that, standing over Hugo and plucking at his throat, there stood a foul thing. A great, black beast, shaped like a hound, yet larger than any hound that any mortal eye had ever rested upon. And even as they looked, the thing tore the throat out of Hugo Baskerville, on which, as it turned its blazing eyes and dripping jaws upon them, the 3 shrieked with fear and rode for dear life, still screaming, across the moor. One, it is said, died that very night of what he had seen, and the other twain were but broken men for the rest of their days.